Patriot Come Lately show. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately, the voice of the Second American Revolution. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whenever or wherever you are listening. As someone who came to America to escape from the socialist nightmare, I am using this show to shake America awake. Join me in the next hour for constitutional conservative news and views, as well as the occasional guest. We have to rebuild that shining city on the hill by taking this great country back to the principles set forth by the founders.
And good evening, good afternoon, good morning. This is Stefan, your Patriot Come Lately, welcoming you to yet another episode of Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio. And perhaps we should start off like I always start. And yes, we're in for a rock and rolling episode tonight. Lots of things to talk about. Of course, top of the list are the thoughts about the brouhaha in Washington around the replacement of Justice Scalia. Also want to talk about what might sweeten the bitter pill if one of your candidates is not the one that is chosen in the GOP nomination. And looking at the most recent polls, there's a lot of writing appearing on the wall. And I know there are a lot of people out there that are not happy about the writing that's appearing there, but things could be going in one direction. So just a few hints on what you might look at as things that might be a little more positive for you. As I said, to sweeten the bitter pill, because, and I said this the last couple of shows, we have to stick together. We don't, even though the Democrat Party is kind of split between Hillary and Bernie Sanders, they are not as there is not as much infighting, and they are not saying, oh, well, we're not going to vote for the other one. They may have some fighting getting there, but they always pull together afterwards. So, folks, interesting to see what will happen there. But we've got to ignore what's happening on that side of the fence. We have to look at our own side, and that means if your candidate isn't chosen, then you have to find a way to look at things that the other candidates have. They're not perfect either. Nobody is perfect. And we have to look and see what's good about them and think about that and forget about all the other stuff. So let's go back, though, first of all, to the replacement of Justice Scalia. And firstly, condolences to his family, who have lost a great man, and condolences to the people of America, because they've lost a learned scholar and an upholder of the Constitution. And as someone who likes to think of themselves as a constitutionalist, I really do think that this is really a big loss for the United States and for we the people. Justice Scalia was known, amongst other things, as an originalist. What is an originalist? Because he might even, I've heard some people say that he kind of founded that line of thinking. It's someone who tries to interpret the Constitution as intended by the founding fathers. Scalia himself took a lot of trouble to try and align the intentions of the framers with changed circumstances. Obviously, they couldn't know everything that was going to happen. Take a very simple example. The First Amendment in the 18th century applied to spoken and written word. They had no idea of radio, TV, telephones, the internet, etc. But Scalia worked hard to see how the framers' thinking would apply to these more modern means of communications. And he did the same for very many topics, and that was one of his strengths. That really was one of the things that he did very well. And it also shows that if you look at it that way, you can apply this so-called old document to modern times, and it was possible to do it. Another thing that made him such a useful, an important justice on the bench was that he was very much against the judicial branch legislating from the bench. Now, this is something that the regressives want all the time, and that's what they're pushing for, judges that legislate from the bench. But instead, he felt that we the people should decide many of these issues through the elective process. This meant that many of his decisions went against the regressives' ideology and was interpreted as him being against those topics. In fact, as a true and honest judge, he did not let his personal leanings influence his decisions. And this is, I think, one of the important things that I've heard about him, that he really did try and apply everything equally to arguments from both sides of the aisle, to say, but what would the founding fathers, what would the framers think of that? And that is really the loss for us, because a lot of the other judges on the bench, look at Sotomayor, look at Kagan, that King Barry put in there, just ideologues. They don't care what the Constitution says, but it's what they want is the direction that they go. And that to me is unfortunate, because that was never the intention of the Supreme Court. And that's another reason why at the moment I'm a little disappointed in Mark Levin's support of Ted Cruz, but it's his prerogative, but still it's kind of turned me off a little bit to him. I do agree on one thing: there should be a constitutional amendment that will give us a little bit more ability to rein in the Supreme Court when they take obviously wrong decisions. We don't have that. Like I said, the framers put together some absolutely awesome documents, and unbelievably good, but they weren't perfect either. And the documents weren't perfect, and I think one of the big things missing is any ability really to overturn Supreme Court decisions that we the people feel are totally wrong. But anyway, back to Judge Scalia. Because of his originalism, the left hated him, obviously, because they felt that he was against their ideology, and for them ideology is everything. Well, as I said, it wasn't necessarily that he disagreed with any of their tenets, but he looked at them as the framers intended, and in a lot of cases, even if he couldn't divine the framers' intentions, what he would do is basically bounce it back and say, no, this is not something that the Supreme Court should be deciding. It should be decided in the legislative, in the elective process. In other words, we the people should decide something. It should be decided at the state level or lower level than that, and not something that 9 black-robed persons can decide without really knowing what the people think, because a lot of the time that's what it comes down to. It if you can't decide exactly based on the Constitution, if it's not obvious what's coming out of there, then it comes down to the emotions and the leanings of the people on the court, but they should also take into account what people in the country feel and want, and that That's not happening. The court, even the Supreme Court, is being used to basically overrule what we want. Look at so many things with immigration and same-sex marriage. Now, I'm not tremendously against it because it sort of was it Ben Franklin says what or was it Thomas Jefferson said, what doesn't affect me in my pocket I don't care about, and it doesn't really do that. But on the other hand, there are a lot of people who do feel otherwise, and there have been states that have had referendums and certain laws have been passed, and they've been overturned by people who are not in touch with the people. So anyway, because of this originalism, the left hated him, and what was really disappointing, we talk about the division in America today, this was very obvious immediately after the announcement of his death. The number of sick and twisted social media postings was really just unbelievable and disappointing. Imagine if anything were to happen to the current resident of the White House and we started dancing in the streets. It would be just as bad. So, it disgusted me just to see how people were reacting. But it wasn't just the far left kooks that were doing this. Even mainstream politicians were showing their true feathers. And a number of politicians on the left seem to have forgotten that today we have video and audio recordings of pretty much anything they have ever said in public. Now, so all of a sudden, when very soon after the announcement of Scalia's demise, the Republicans started saying, well, you know what, we're in the middle of an election season. This doesn't seem like a good time to hold hearings and to look for a replacement. This should be something that should be done by the next president, because we all know that Obama has messed things up so badly, and with a lying Hillary and a spendthrift hippie on the other side, it's highly unlikely that the Democrats will be in power in the White House after this election. So obviously, yes, we have an interest in delaying things. And of course, the left was outraged. And, surprisingly outraged. Well, surprisingly, I'm speaking sarcastically there. But they were outraged by the fact that the Republicans are not keen to repeat the stacking of the SCOTUS that King Barry has already done with his two earlier appointments, Sotomayor and Kagan. And he's been privileged to make two appointments. Unfortunately, they were replacing people who were already on the left side of the aisle anyway. And, judges shouldn't be, but we know they are. But their outrage is actually hollow and hypocritical when their speeches from the Bush era are replayed. Senator Lee in 2006 is on the record talking about the Thurman Rule. What is the Thurman Rule? It's one that no judicial appointment should happen in the last year of a president's term because it's in the middle of the election season. People are focusing on other things. Now, all of a sudden, yesterday or today, he appeared on TV saying, no, there's no Thurman Rule. Now, can you imagine that? So there's a video where he's talking very strongly about this Thurman Rule. And remember, this is a Democrat politician, obviously. And now, 10 years later, he appears on TV and says, no, there's no Thurman Rule. Folks, no wonder that American people are fed up with the political elites, are fed up with Washington. Right? How Lee, and I'm going to be talking after the break about Senator Schumer, have the cojones to be so obviously two-faced. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Schumer is just as bad. Lee hasn't really hit the big time, but I did see something about, so one of the clips of him saying that. But now, but Schumer was the one that really hit the airwaves, and again, just totally two-faced. Unbelievable. Anyway, and they're not the only ones, but I see the clock is running, and it is time to move on to the next section of the show. But before we do that, obviously, time for a little break.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, thanks for sticking with me through that break. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, welcoming you to part 2 of the Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio program, episode 306. We've been talking about some of the hypocrisy going on around the nomination to replace Justice Scalia. That obviously a great loss to conservatives, but also a great loss to constitutionalists, because he was probably, that was, I think, really his biggest point. He was a true constitutionalist. I'd like to say, if you're listening to this show live, don't forget you can join us in the chat room. Rex is there. Good evening, Rex. Nice to see you. But if you're listening to one of the recordings at a later time, then you can still contact me if you've got questions and comments that obviously you can't put into the chat room, but you can still email me, stefan@patrickcomelately.us. And if you don't want to do that, or if you don't have an email, or you want to keep your email private, you can go to the website and send me a comment through there, www.patrickcomelately.us. There's a contact form. It does ask you for an email so that I can, if you give me a real one, I promise not to share it with anyone, and I will reply to your question. But also I'll try and answer your questions in a future show as well. Anyway, so let's go on with the show, and I think it's time for another topic, sort of. we were talking about the left's hypocrisy, and so this is really a subtopic, and I was going to talk about the New York Senator, Chucky Schumer, who was also caught in hypocrisy. Of course, he stood up this week and said, hey folks, we've got to whoops, now I've lost my train of thought. Sorry folks, we've got to get these hearings, get the nomination in and get these hearings done, and there has to be a vote on it, right? Well, sounds fairly reasonable. And then, of course, all the Republicans started, and all the right-wing media started citing a 2007 speech that he gave in which he was saying they had to block all George W. Bush Supreme Court nominees in 2007, right? And the Republicans are saying, well, Schumer said this in 2007, so why shouldn't we do this today to block King Barry's nomination, whoever he puts forward? So, of course, he's trying to denounce the Republicans and saying they're being obstructionists, etc. But, and now he says it's dishonest to use the speech to justify the plans. Here's what he actually said. He wrote this on the website. Over the last couple of days, some Republicans, embarrassed by their partisan overreach in attempting to prevent King Barry, sorry, he didn't use those words, he used the P word, but I don't use that one, from nominating a Supreme Court justice, have tried to use a 2007 speech I gave to justify their current obstruction. Sadly for them, even a quick perusal of the speech shows it provides no cover and that Leader McConnell is comparing apples to oranges. No, I think we're comparing lemons to lemons, but we're going to make lemonade, and I'll come back to the lemons part of it as well. What I said in the speech in 2007 is simple. Democrats, after a hearing, should entertain voting no if the nominee is out of the mainstream and tries to cover that fact up. There was no hint anywhere in the speech that there shouldn't be hearings or a vote. Only after hearings and a vote, if the Democrats determined that the nominee was out of the mainstream and trying to hide it, they should have no qualms about voting no. But that doesn't line up with his remarks at the time. While it is certainly true that he never calls for avoiding hearings, as some of the Republicans are suggesting right now, it is absolutely the case that he proposed categorically rejecting any new nominees that Bush put forward. This was a speech to the American Constitution Society, and Schumer was reflecting on his experience with the confirmations of John Roberts and Samuel Alito, whose elevation heralded a conservative shift by the Supreme Court. After claiming Democrats were hoodwinked by Alito and Roberts at their confirmation hearings, hoodwinked? What about Kagan and Sotomayor? Schumer lays out his proposals for how Democrats should act going forward for the rest of this president's term, and if there is another Republican elected with the same selection criteria, let me say this: we should reverse the presumption of confirmation. The Supreme Court is dangerously out of balance. We cannot afford to see Justice Stevens replaced by another Roberts or Justice Ginsburg by another Alito. Given the track record of this president and the experience of obfuscation at the hearings with respect to the Supreme Court, at least, I will recommend to my colleagues that we should not confirm a Supreme Court nominee except in extraordinary circumstances. Yes. So tremendously hypocritical, folks. But isn't that just typical regressives? So, on the one hand, he's saying, no, we vote against everyone, and then when he's called on it, he says, well, no, what I meant was they should be a hearing and there should be a vote. Now, I mean, just unbelievable. And part of it is because he says much of his speech consists of him arguing that the confirmation hearings are inherently unreliable and not a good way to vet a candidate for the Supreme Court. Well, folks, case in point, Sotomayor and Kagan. They were vetted, and the Republicans rolled over and said, oh yes, they're such good jurists, they'll be honest, like H-E double hockey sticks, no. Chucky said, hearings produce a lot of sound and fury, often signifying nothing. It is too easy to evade a question. It is too easy to refuse to answer. It is too easy to be coached, and it is too easy to offer an easy platitude rather than a concrete opinion. Well, Chucky, you're just another typical regressive, hypocritical hack, and it's time that you retire and get the hell out of Dodge, or actually get the hell out of Washington. But will he do that? I doubt it. Let's see, we've got a little bit of time to the bottom of the hour, and then after the bottom of the hour, I am going to come back to the other main topic that I think we need to talk about, and that's the spoonful of sugar that will hopefully help the bitter medicine go down. But anyway, let's talk about people on the right also taking words and twisting them around, because this relates to the bitter medicine, just to be very honest. And specifically, let's look at Trump's comments about Bush. Now, they have been twisted badly by most commentators. And while I don't necessarily agree with how Bush said it, and not even all of it, however, they take one small part and dream up all sorts of things around it, which is not true. And I think you have to look at it in the context. So let's look at it. We've got a pretty rough and tumble discussion going on in South Carolina, and it's what all pundits have been saying. South Carolina, things get rough, and so all sorts of things are being said on both sides. And we know Trump. You say something about him, especially if he thinks it's untrue or doesn't apply, he gets pretty annoyed about it. Now, is it logical to drag up things from the last 60 years? It's one of the things Jeb Bush has been doing. He's been saying, for the last 60 years, Trump has been a left-leaning Democrat, right? Ronald Reagan was a left-leaning Democrat, but he changed. Can the leopard change its spots? Everything Trump is saying seems to go that direction. So why not? And then Jeb Bush kind of plied it on during the debate, and I thought it was, to be honest, I still think it was a pretty offensive statement that he said. He was talking about the fact that while Trump basically was building a reality TV show, his brother, George W. Bush, was building a security for this country to keep the country safe. And Trump turns around and to say, well, with respect to security for this country, can't have been that great because the Twin Towers came down during George's administration. Now, Jeb was trying to defend his brother, and Trump was a retort back, which was quite true, quite frankly. Now, but let's look closely at the two statements. Firstly, I think that Jeb was wrong in saying what he said. He was asking for it. He wasn't. The way he said it and what he said, especially about his brother, he said he was building a security apparatus to keep our country safe. Well, he only did that after 9/11. He didn't do that before 9/11, right? Did Donald then react too strongly on that? possibly, and I want to come back to that as well. But if you look at what he actually said and not what the pundits want you to hear, I think he wasn't half as bad as what he said. He did not say that George W. was responsible for 9/11, just that it did happen on his watch. When people started pressing him, yes, he went a little bit further. He might be saying, okay, well, he might have known about it beforehand. But at the time, that's only, what he said on the stage. And it's later that when they started pressing him, that he perhaps made a little worse. Now, again, is he perfect? No. But I think Jebb's original statement was disingenuous. Think about it. He'd been running from his family when he first started, after he announced his logo was Jeb. It wasn't Jeb Bush. He tried to get away from the Bush family. But when that failed to get traction, he switched, and now he's trying to leverage his family name, right? Rolling out his mother and brother in short order here because he's just not making it. But anyway, so that's why I think the original statement was disingenuous. Did Donald react too harshly? Maybe, but that's the way he is. And is that good or bad? It has its bad things about it. Do you want someone like that as a president? Maybe, maybe not. But there are some good things about it as well, because I'm a little fed up with the wishy-washy, mealy-mouthed people in Washington who just roll over any time anything bad gets said. And I think that Donald might be the breath of fresh air, even if he's a little too brash. I'd rather have the pendulum swing the other way. But anyway, folks, I'm way over my break here. So, folks, just hang on, and I will be back shortly, and maybe we'll have some music as well before we go further.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network.
You promised us hope and change, got no hope, Bush got blamed, calling down the foreign kings. They don't need apologies. Jobs are gone, gas is high, rich vacations make us cry. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. They laugh at us far and wide, but we are here to set it right. Had your fun, done us wrong, now we vote to send you home. Take your home, keep your change, all you do is give us pain. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. Like a lone ranger, we're hip to your game, not afraid of the danger. We don't give a dang. Fearless crusaders, we got pride. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. Yeah. You buy your votes, make new rules, but we the people won't be fooled. We're on to you, media too. Compromise will never do. Had enough sacred cows, your days in power numbered now. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. Like a lone ranger, we're hip to your game, not afraid of the danger. We don't give a dang. Fearless crusaders, we got pride. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. So break out that suitcase, pack up those fruitcakes. Obama, you failed us, you're fired. Obama, you failed us. You're fired. Goodbye.
And that was Bruce Ballot with that great song, Obama, you are fired. You've got, we're giving you notice, 11 months and 4 days, and you're out of here. But what's the damage that he can do before then? Okay, folks, just a reminder, if you are listening to the recordings, you can reach me at stephan@patriotcomelately.us or go to the website, www.patriotcomelately.us. Fill out the contact form, and that will come winging to me. I love to hear from you, questions, comments about the show, whatever, and I will try and answer you both directly and also in a future show. Now, new topic again. Well, sort of, because they're all kind of connected together. And the other main topic I wanted to talk about tonight was all the backwards and forwards in the GOP race. To a certain extent, it applies to the Democrat primaries as well, but I think it's a little worse right now on the Democrat side. There's a lot of nasty things going around. Now, we have to remember, it is the primaries, right? Some people say, oh, but you know, all this stuff that people are dragging up, it's kind of giving ammunition to the other side so that in the general election they can take all this stuff. Well, let's face it, if our people don't drag it up about their opposition in the primaries, the left are going to find it as well. So better to air it now and let whoever ends up being the candidate be prepared for the sort of things that will come out. And some of this, as I said, I wanted to talk about this because I know a lot of people are going to say, well, I can't vote for somebody like Trump because he's, so brash and he's so rude to people, or I can't vote for Cruz because both Marco and Trump are accusing him of being a liar. I can't vote for Rubio because whatever. So, again, I want to take some specific examples. Let's take Trump and how he is challenging what people are saying about him, and kind of, he's not turning the other cheek, but he's taking an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, pretty much. Both of them are things from the Bible, right? Turning the other cheek is from the New Testament more. An eye for an eye is from the Old Testament, which was, of course, a lot more gory, a lot more bloodthirsty, but they're both in the Bible. So, like I said, if you don't like that, and I can understand that you have your reservations about that, so here's the spoonful of sugar that I promised, that I was talking about earlier. Think about this. When it's going on between the candidates on the GOP side, fine. It could help, it could hurt in the general election. But let's suppose a Trump did get elected as president, and let's say, after 6 months in his after his inaugural, Putin promises to do something and then doesn't do it. What do we want? Do we want some mealy-mouthed wimp sort of saying, oh, Putin, you promised to do this and you didn't do it, right? Well, think about the current resident of the White House. Or do you want someone who's going to stand up and say, hey, Putin, you a-hole, you said you do it, you didn't do it, so this is what we're going to do, which is in essence what Trump is doing today to the other candidates in the GOP. It's what he'll do to Hillary or Bernie, whoever wins the Democrat nomination. He'll call them out for every single lie that they do and all of the bad stuff, because most of the time we've noticed our politicians are too scared to do anything, to say anything bad about someone else. And of course, yes, Trump knows he'll get called sexist if he attacks Hillary, but who cares? She's a politician, and if she can't take the rough and tumble, then too bad. So, like I said, so think about that. Yes, he may be rough, he may be brash, he may say things in a way that you don't like today about other candidates in the GOP, but wouldn't you like him to say those same things about Hillary before the election? And wouldn't you like him to say those same things about other world leaders that we can't trust, like Putin, like the Chinese, like North Korea? Why are we tiptoeing around them always? Call a spade a spade. If they're thugs, call them that. Anyway, so that's it's one of the things that I think you need to think about. Just look at that and say, okay, yes, he's not what I wanted, but there's that spoonful of sugar. Spoonful of sugar on the Ted Cruz side. 2 people in the campaign, 3 people if you include Carson now, are accusing him of lying. He's supposedly the evangelical person, right? The one that gets the support from the evangelicals, holds up the Bible, but he's the one that lies the most. And you can sort of say, if 3 of them are saying it, there must be an element of truth there. So, is that the best example that you want people to have? But on the other hand, if he does make it through to the nomination, maybe we have to take that into account. But say, on the other hand, he's very true to the Constitution, or he has been recently. Maybe not so much in the past. I mean, he's not perfect either. But there's your spoonful of sugar that we would get someone who's probably close, tries to stick closer to the Constitution than perhaps most of them. With Rubio, he flirted with the Gang of 8 and, did some things that we don't like about immigration, especially on the amnesty side. It was not what he was voted for, but he got up to Washington. He's a consummate politician, let's face it, because that's all he's done his life. So he's part of that political elite, even if it was the political elite in Florida. not at the federal level, at the state level, but now he's moved up to the federal level. So he's a consummate politician. But again, he is Hispanic, so can understand some leanings towards immigration. But the spoonful of sugar is that he does have that kind of Tea Party background. So I mean, we have to look for sometimes we've got to be prepared to say, if they get nominated, let's see what we can find that's good. Okay, folks, I see that it's time for break number 3, and then we'll be into the last part of the show. I'll be right back.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
If you're diabetic, this message could change your life. Is your blood sugar out of control even when you do all the right stuff? Are you afraid of diabetic blindness and the risk of amputation, as well as all those other side effects? Well, you should be. Is there anything that could help manage your blood sugar? Nobetes is a natural supplement that may quickly and dramatically lower your blood sugar.
My name is Bob Corder. I've been using Nobetes for about 3.5 to 4 months now, and in the first 3 months, I've actually lowered my blood sugars from 500s down to 139, and then it dropped to 88 to 93.
My name is Kirsten. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and while taking Nobetes, my blood sugar levels dropped from 295 to 115 in just 1 day.
The FDA hasn't evaluated these statements, and Nobetes isn't intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. But for many, it's helped drop their blood sugar. So if you've been evaluated with high blood sugar, don't delay. Evaluate Nobetes now. Call 800-551-8302 and get your free bottle. Just cover shipping and handling. Call 800-551-8302. That's 800-551-8302.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, welcome back. We're into the final segment of the show. As I like to say, I guess I'm like a broken record, but time flies when you're having fun, and it is fun tonight. Lots of good topics, and hopefully you'll take this. I'm trying to bring all these things to your attention, and some of you might say, well, trying to bring a lot of negative stuff forward, and I don't disagree. I'm trying to get you angry. I think we need to be angry. We need to be angry with the elites in Washington. They have sold us down the river. We cannot trust them, and this goes for both sides of the aisle, to be very honest, both the left and the right. The left, I think, are more disingenuous, are worse than and worse for America than the right, but the right are just as bad because they think that they can do just as well as the left with bigger and bigger government, only they can do it better. No, we don't need bigger and bigger government. We need smaller and smaller government. So I'm trying to do this show, we'll continue to do this at least until the elections, to try and bring these things to your attention. And yes, I want to get you angry. I want you to be angry. I want you to go out there, but I do want you to take the right vote. Listen to the show, listen to the messages, and do that. And, you know, I said for the last election, this was a very important election because if we didn't get the right result, it was going to be very dangerous for America. I hate to say I told you so, but it was. Things got a lot worse in these last 3 years than even I expected, and hopefully the next 11 months and 4 days we can struggle our way through. But folks, we need to get angry so we can let our legislators know that we're not going to take it anymore. Now, just one last topic that I do want to do on this whole thing about the nomination of a new justice to the Supreme Court. And along with all the hypocrisy that I talked about, especially from the left, I think in general the timing of this is going to be bad or worse for the Republicans than for the regressives. It's fairly certain that King Barry will never nominate anyone that would be as near as honest and conservative and, or more importantly, constitutionally true as Scalia. Now, he is likely to send us a left-winger. Worst case, it'll be someone who's a centrist, who is left-leaning, and there'll be a few namby-pamby, wishy-washy Republicans who say, well, that person's not so bad, we'll vote for him anyway. But I don't know. We'll see. I mean, if he's clever, he'll do that, but he's probably going to try and get an ideologue through. So hopefully it will be unlikely that they can get 60 senators, which means 14 Republicans have to vote with the Democrats to break a filibuster. However, if that happens, then it is likely that we're going to galvanize the left to come out to the election. That is the bad side of it. Now, hopefully the fact that King Barry tried that might be enough to galvanize the right wing as well and get those people who are saying, well, if it's Trump or Cruz, because, you know, Trump's loud, Cruz is a liar, whatever, so we're not going to vote. That may happen as well. But I think it's more likely that the left will get a bump from that, which is unfortunate. But anyway, we'll see. So that's the downside of all of this. Okay, folks, it looks like the music is coming up, so I'm going to say thanks for listening, and come back next week. We're going to have plenty to talk about, because next week it will be the the results of South Carolina. TTFN, folks. See you next week.
Thank you for listening to this edition of the Patriot Come Lately Show. Please take what you have learned and share it with friends and family. Better still, tell them about the show so they can listen too. Remember to support the advertisers on the show. It helps keep this show on the air, and I thank you for that. I'm looking forward to joining you on the next show. Until then, keep spreading our message. Goodbye, and God bless America.